say it ain't so about Betty White passing away at 99 years old, just a couple of weeks shy of turning 100. After you all were amping up her 100th birthday and promoting the 100th birthday party, and she's no longer here. She's crossed over to the other side. I don't even know what special effects to play with this one because I adore Betty White. And I will never say adored. I will always say adored because I think Betty White is one of the greatest people to ever grace television. And she's an icon and a pioneer in the art form of television as well. She was one of the first to be casted on television shows when the new medium first hit pre-World War II. Now, when I first saw this, I couldn't believe it. I said, no, I couldn't believe it. But I'm not going to put a damper on it. I'm going to actually celebrate because if someone lives to be 99, you don't cry. You don't holler, you don't shed tears. Unless that person passed away bad, then that's different. But this woman lived a wholesome life. She lived a happy life. And for that, this is what I'm going to do. That is how you celebrate someone. You think about the good that they did. And Betty White, in my opinion, did good. And one thing I loved about Betty White was that she never flaunted white privilege. She never, ever put down other groups of people. She was very inclusive. And I felt that she was a woman who, given the times that she lived in, being born in 1922 and living through, you could say, a good while in the 21st century at that, to me, I feel as though she represented that the good, that how white people should be, you know. I feel that she wasn't political in her approach, but she would call out nonsense. And I've seen interviews and I've seen her basically talk about certain things that she would see in the industry. Like, you know, how in those days you couldn't really have a good amount of certain types of people. They wanted to be predominantly white. They also wanted to be predominantly male. You know, I've also noticed that on the show, like not on the shows, but I also noticed that she was actually very witty. She was not the Rose Nylund person that many people think. You know, the Rose Nylund character was like a character she played later on. She actually was very snappy, witty, and she pretty much knew how to hold her own. She knew how to work in a white male-dominated oriented world, and she survived it. Let's be real. Many of her peers ended up tragic. You know, she didn't. Now, I'm going to read to you from the outlets that I happen upon. And I'm going to read to you from People, because People magazine, in my opinion, I feel knows how to honor people in the right way. So it reads, Betty White, the Golden Girls and Hot in Cleveland star. I'm not going to even say it. I'm going to say passes at 99. Even though Betty was about to be 100, I thought she would live forever. Betty White's agent and close friend, Jeff Whithouse, tells People in a statement. Betty White, TV's perennial Golden Girl, has died. She was 99. Even though Betty was about to be 100, I thought she would live forever. Her agent and close friend, Jeff Whithouse, told People in a statement on Friday. I will miss her terribly, and so will the animal world that she loved so much. I don't think Betty ever feared passing because she always wanted to be with her most beloved husband, Alan Ludden. She believed she would be with him again. White was gearing up to celebrate her 100th birthday on January 7th, ahead of her centennial year in January. White opened up to people about how she was feeling about turning 100 years old. I'm so lucky to be in such good health and feel so good at this age, said the veteran actress. It's amazing. According to White, being born a cockeyed optimist was the key to her upbeat nature. I got it from my mom, and that never changed, she said. I always find the positive. Of course, the iconic actress also cracked a joke about the secret to her long life, telling people, I try to avoid anything green. I think it's working. A warm and popular presence on the small screen, White's career dated back to the early days of the medium and spanned decades. Long before her hilarious turns on The Mary Tyler Moore Show in the 70s and The Golden Girls in the 80s, in 1952 she appeared in the I Love Lucy-like Life with Elizabeth, a show she also produced. In 2010, at age 87, she enjoyed an awards-laden resurgence when, after starring on a Snickers commercial during the Super Bowl, polls and petitions overwhelmingly named her the public's choice to host Saturday Night Live, MC various award shows, and even be a sergeant's date at a Marine Corps ball. After that, she went on to star and steal scenes on the TV Land sitcom Hot in Cleveland, even scoring an Emmy nomination, her 17th, including 7 wins. In May 2012, she also debuted on the NBC comedy reality show Betty White's Off Their Rockers, a kind of generic punk. As always, she proved a favorite. Early life. Born January 17, 1922, in Oak Park, Illinois, Betty Marion White, an only child, moved with her parents, traveling salesman, and electrical engineer Horace White, and homemaker Tess Kurtz White to Los Angeles during the Great Depression. Camping once a year to the Sierra Nevadas with the folks fueled a love of animals. We wound up with 26 dogs once, White told People in 1999. As a child, she fantasized about becoming a forest ranger or a writer, only to fall in love with performing when she took the lead in the high school senior play that she wrote. She skipped college and began performing on the radio. But before launching an acting career, she married twice. First to Dick Barker, a World War II pilot she wed in 1945. In parentheses, the marriage only lasted a few months once he took her home to an Ohio chicken farm. Then in 1947 to agent Lane Allen, who wanted her to give up show business. When the marriage ended in 1949, she and an LA DJ named Al Jarvis got their feet wet together on local TV, which eventually paved the way for her first sitcom, the nationally syndicated Life with Elizabeth. Despite its low budget and minimal sets, indeed, the show was a series of domestic skits featuring White's Daffy Elizabeth and her exasperated husband Alvin, played by Del Moore. The show earned White her first Emmy. Other series came and went in the 1950s, and by 1961, White appeared as a celebrity player on the daytime game show Password, hosted by Alan Ludden. A widower with 3 children, he proposed marriage to the actress in 1963, and she accepted that Easter. He sent her this adorable, fluffy, white stuffed bunny, she later told People, and in its ears were gold leaves with ruby, diamond, and sapphire earrings. Even after, White referred to Ludden as the love of her life. The secret to our marriage was enthusiasm, White said. When I knew Alan was coming home, I would freshen my makeup and put on a new blouse. Ludden, 63, passed away in 1981. They had been married 18 years, during which White triumphed from 1973 to 77 on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, thanks to some image-busting casting. She played TV station WJM's Happy Homemaker, Sue Ann Nivens, a relentlessly man-hungry careerist. Though she bravely carried on after Ludden's death, White admitted, if one more person said, "Oh, you're so strong," I would have decked them. Career beginnings. White's career in entertainment began in the 1940s after she graduated from high school. She began working in radio and later got her own show called The Betty White Show. In 1949, she became co-host with Al Jarvis on his daily variety show, Hollywood on Television in Los Angeles. After Jarvis left the show in 1952, White began hosting by herself, working 5.5 hours of live ad-lib television 6 days a week for 4 years. She was nominated for her first Emmy Award in 1955 as Best Actress on Television. It was her first award in category in the new award show designated specifically for women in television. While she was hosting a variety show, she began acting in television comedy, Life with Elizabeth. It became nationally syndicated, making White one of the few women in TV with full creative control in front of and behind the camera. She earned her second and third Emmy nominations while appearing on The Mary Tyler Moore Show in the 1970s and became the first woman to win a Daytime Emmy Award in the category of Outstanding Game Show Host for the NBC show Just Men in 1983. The Golden Girls. In the years immediately afterward, White's work pace only accelerated, culminating with The Golden Girls, on which she played the lovable and lightheaded Rose Nyland during the show's run from 1985 to 92. Rose, from St. Olaf, Minnesota, was the widow of Charlie Nyland. In parentheses, originally White was offered the role of sexy Southern Belle Blanche, which ultimately went to Rue McClanahan. B. Arthur and Estelle Getty also starred. Man, that's my show. Right before the show went on the air, White confided to the New York Times a couple of speeches Rose makes get me by the throat. All I have to do is substitute Alan for Charlie, Rose's husband. Oh, life imitating art was seldom more endearing. Hot in Cleveland and 21st Century starter. After The Golden Girls ended in 1992, White starred in a series of TV shows, including The Golden Palace, a spinoff of The Golden Girls minus Arthur. Bob and maybe this time made cameos in programs including Ally McBeal and That 70s shows, in which she played B. Sergeson, Kitty's mother. Shortly after that appearance, she starred in a series of movies in the early 2000s before starring as Catherine Piper in Boston Legal from 2005 to 8, and later as Anne Douglas in The Bold and Beautiful from 2006 to 2009. I remember that vividly. White kept working in television, starring in TV, films, and shows. In 2010, she took on the role of Elka Ostrovsky in Hot in Cleveland, which became the linchpin of a career resurgence that has starred with the role in The Proposal alongside Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. In Hot in Cleveland, she starred with Valerie Bertinelli, Jane Leeves, and Whitney Malik, playing 3 40-something best friends from Los Angeles who land in Cleveland after attempting to fly to Paris. White played their caretaker of the home, and the 3 ladies lived in. The arrival of the ladies sparked the character's life again and thrust her back into the world of dating at 80 years old. White was nominated 3 times for the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in Comedy series 2011, 2012, and in 2013. She won the first 2 times. Throughout her long career, she was nominated for 21 Primetime Emmys, winning 5 in total. Speaking to People in January 2021, White was said to have a sense of humor, and that is the key to a long and happy life. Just looking at the positive side and not dwelling on the downside. It takes up too much energy being negative, and that had been her motto for years. In 1999, she told People she looks to make the most of every day. You better realize how good life is while it's happening, she said, because before you know it, it will all be gone. And she's right, and she was successful. But I want to say something. When I was a little girl, and I would watch The Golden Girls, I always knew that Betty White would outlive every single one of them women. I always knew it. And the only one who knew it besides me was my mother. And the reason why I'm tearing up is because that was my favorite show. And it helped to get me through the passing of my aunt and my father, I remember when they put it back on reruns on the We channel back in, I believe it was 2007. I didn't really watch it at first at that time because I was busy working, going to school, and like hanging out with my friends and stuff. But my life slowed down pretty much by 2008, 2009 because I was in my own issues. And what happened was the following year, 2009, my father passed away, and earlier that year, and then my aunt passed away like towards like the end of the summer. And the one thing that kept me like sane was watching the Golden Girls, and I would watch it back to back. And when we was playing it, they would play the episodes to where like they would finish like a full run of the whole series within 2 months. I kid you not. And at that time, it was her and Rue McClanahan that was still alive. And you could really get the sense that when you would see her on the show, she really, really was happy, and she worked well with those women. Even though it was said that her and B. Arthur would kind of clash because B. Arthur couldn't deal with her like optimism and stuff, because B. Arthur was very much of an activist. Like they both had a love for animals, but B. Arthur was very liberal, and Rose Nylund was more apolitical, so to speak. But she really went hard for the animals. Another thing too about Betty White is that Betty White always kept working, and Betty White is a Capricorn, and Capricorns, that's a sign of work and administration, and they are not lazy when it comes to a job. They know how to basically punch a clock, and they know how to get to work, and they about that money. And I'm sure Betty White was about that. And another thing too is that when the drama was going on a lot of shows, she never got caught up in the nonsense. And Betty White always had a great reputation working with people. I mean, even in the movie Bring Down the House, she was around that time 81 years old, and she played the racist neighbor. But when they interviewed them for the promotion of the film, Queen Latifah said that her and Betty White hit it off right away. They had great chemistry, and she was like, she was nothing like her character. And that's just, it tells me that people like that, when you are loved and you're respected, and when you go on and you pass away, because nobody dies, you just go on to the other side. Energy lives, your spirit lives. So people that believe that, they're demons, okay? They're evil. People that live a positive life like her, when you pass away, you get so many like accolades and recognition. Already the reports are flooding in. I'm shocked. I just went on her Wikipedia page yesterday. Another thing too is that this woman was not afraid of the concept of, passing away. She always knew that she would see her husband again. Now, Betty White didn't have children for whatever reason. Maybe she didn't want them. Maybe because she was a careerist. Or maybe, maybe it just didn't happen. But when it came to the pandemic, she was doing good. She was laughing, kicking it up. Now, her career slowed down in terms of her working. After a while, she didn't work like most people, I guess, because I noticed that by the time she was like 97, she didn't work as much as she did. But the woman held her own in Hollywood. And I know a lot of people are going to say that possibly because of her being of a certain persuasion. But I really always connected with Betty White. Every time I would watch the Golden Girls, and even when I was watching Hot in Cleveland, she was funny on that show. Everybody watched it because of her. I'm not saying they didn't watch it because of Valerie Bertinelli, the woman from Frasier, and the other lady from the show Just Shoot Me. But everybody tuned in for Betty White. Let's just keep it a bean. And it's just so uncanny that what I felt as a kid when it came to Betty White came true. That she outlived all of them. And when I was a kid, I would watch the Golden Girls when they were still in its original run. Betty White, around that time, when I first became familiar with the show, I was 4 or 5 years old. Betty White had to be about 66 years old. That is like the retirement age. You know, people were retiring earlier than that. People were retired in their late 50s in those days. She was still going. But I just want to say that The Golden Girls is the greatest, I feel, is the greatest comedy show ever. I don't care what nobody say. I think it's number one. Everybody won an Emmy. It was a hit. It's still a hit in like syndication, also in reruns. That show is never going to go out. But I will say that she's the last one to leave, and I'm sure that they probably up in heaven throwing a party and, you know, fighting everybody that they knew. And, you know, probably celebrating her arrival and so forth. And, you know, I'm just happy to see that she lived a long life. But I do think that they should still do the 100th anniversary celebration of her being born. I don't think they should cut that out. But I will say one thing. I did find it uncanny that a couple of days ago, they were saying that that she was just going to turn 99, knowing that she was born in 1922. And I thought that was a little strange. Another thing, too, I don't like when Hollywood amps up things. Like, the woman probably was also going through shock. Could have been with, like, you know, the anticipation of being 100. And, you know, she wasn't able to walk around like she was normally doing. And I feel that Hollywood amps things up too much. And I didn't like that. I know with the other older man, Norman Feld, everybody was celebrating his birthday. And he was energetic. And he lived to be like 106, which is wonderful. But I felt that y'all was stressing Betty White out for that 100th. And that was wrong. And I'm not saying that it contributed to her passing. But maybe y'all did a little bit too much for her. And that could have shocked her. And I'm just happy overall that the woman, you know, was able to live a life. But I wish she would have been 100. Because I really thought that she would have been 100. I really thought she was going to be 100. I really did. And maybe she probably would have passed away maybe a week or two later from that. But, you know, it is what it is. It didn't happen. So, you know, Hollywood, learn a lesson. Just let people live their life. And if they approaching 100, just let them turn 100. You know, don't let them, you know, stress out and just go through all the unnecessary pomp circumstances, you know. Don't do that. Another thing, too, she may not have looked like she did. I don't know. Because I didn't see any advertising for her. But she may not have looked like she did when she was, you know, like a couple of years back. But I'll tell you one thing. I bet you she looks better than a whole lot of people in Hollywood getting plastic surgery who was half her age. Okay? And when we mean half, we talking about 49 and a half, 50, 47, all that. And so I'm signing off, and I'm just going to close it with just saying, you know, thank you for everything you brought to TV. Thank you for, you know, making my mom laugh, my father laugh, and also him getting through his mom passing a couple of years before the show premiered. We always said that would be the show that my paternal grandmother would have loved to watch because her wit was just like Sophia's. And with that being said, I'm just signing off. And just like before, I will say thank you. You know, and I think it's a learning lesson for everybody. That's how you live your life. Just be happy. And don't let anything get to you. And don't let anything stress you out. Because that's the result. Betty White.